Cleveland didn't just lose a football game. They unraveled on national television. Under the bright lights at Ford Field, what was supposed to be a statement game for the Browns turned into a 34-10 nightmare that the entire country got to witness live. By the second quarter, the cameras weren't just showing touchdowns, they were showing empty stares on the Cleveland sideline and a sea of frustrated fans in brown and orange, some already heading for the exits. By halftime, the scoreboard felt less like a score and more like a headline: Browns collapse again. But what made this loss sting even more wasn't just the points on the board, it was the way it happened. The offense looked lifeless. The game plan felt stuck in quicksand, and sitting on the bench through it all was the one player fans were begging to see: rookie quarterback Shedeur Sanders. Every close-up of Sanders sitting there with his helmet beside him felt like a silent question that nobody on the Browns sideline wanted to answer. Why isn't the kid even getting a chance? Meanwhile, Joe Flacco, the 40-year-old veteran who was supposed to steady the offense, delivered 184 passing yards, no touchdowns, and 2 brutal interceptions that killed any spark Cleveland tried to build. By the time the fourth quarter rolled around, even the home crowd boos from Ford Field turned into a chant that echoed through the broadcast: "We want Shedeur." This wasn't just another bad day at the office. This was a public meltdown that left fans furious, the locker room divided, and the national media already calling for heads to roll. And as bad as the game itself looked, what came next would light an even bigger fire under the Browns organization. The first few minutes at Ford Field felt almost like a warning sign. Cleveland's opening drive went nowhere. 3 plays, a punt, and an uneasy silence from the Browns sideline. Detroit answered with a crisp, methodical touchdown drive, and just like that, the momentum belonged entirely to the Lions. Joe Flacco never found his rhythm. On one drive, he floated a short throw straight into double coverage, picked off. On another, he forced the ball down the middle on 3rd and long, only to see it sail high and end up in a defender's hands. 2 turnovers in crucial moments killed any chance the Browns had of building momentum. Meanwhile, Quinshon Judkins fought hard for every yard on the ground, even punching in Cleveland's only touchdown of the day. But without a passing threat to balance the offense, Detroit's defense stacked the box, daring Flacco to throw, and he couldn't make them pay for it. By halftime, the Browns were already staring at a double-digit deficit. The Lions crowd smelled blood, but the loudest noise came from the section of Cleveland fans who had made the trip. Their chant, "We want Shedeur," echoed through the stadium, cutting through the broadcast mics and leaving millions of viewers wondering the same thing. Why wasn't the rookie on the field? Every shot of Shedeur Sanders sitting on the bench felt like a silent question that nobody on the Browns sideline wanted to answer. Why isn't the kid even getting a chance? Detroit didn't even need to be flashy. Jared Goff calmly worked the short passing game, Jahmyr Gibbs carved up the defense on the ground, and the Lions controlled the clock so completely that the Browns looked like passengers in their own game. When the final whistle blew on a 34-10 beatdown, the scoreboard wasn't just a number, it was an indictment. The team's problems were bigger than bad luck or a few mistakes. And as the Browns trudged to the locker room, the real battle was only beginning. Because the harshest hits were still to come, not from the Lions, but from the media. If the loss itself was bad, the headlines that followed were brutal. The morning after the game, every sports network opened with the same storyline. The Browns are wasting their future to protect their coach's ego. On ESPN, one analyst didn't hold back. He said, "This isn't just losing football games anymore, this is coaching malpractice. You've got a 40-year-old quarterback who can't push the ball downfield, and you're leaving your most talented player on the bench. That's not strategy, that's fear." Another national voice called out Kevin Stefanski's game management in even harsher terms. "He's coaching like a man afraid of his own shadow. You drafted a quarterback with star potential, you're down by 3 scores, and you still won't give the kid a single snap? That's not conservative football. That's stubbornness that costs you games. Even Cleveland's usually loyal local media turned on the coaching staff. Beat reporters who had defended Stefanski in the past wrote columns questioning whether he'd lost the locker room. One radio host summed it up bluntly on air. "We've seen this movie too many times in Cleveland. The veteran who can't win, the rookie who never gets a chance, and a fan base left wondering what the plan really is." Social media only added fuel to the fire. Clips of Shedeur Sanders sitting with his helmet on the ground racked up millions of views overnight. Fans flooded comment sections with hashtags like #FireStefanski and #FreeShedeur, turning the Browns' quarterback controversy into a trending national story. But the loudest criticism wasn't coming from talk shows or Twitter threads. Behind the scenes, frustration was already boiling over inside the Browns' own building, and that's where the story takes its most dramatic turn. While the cameras were still rolling on post-game interviews, something even bigger was happening behind closed doors. Multiple reports claimed that Browns owner Jimmy Haslam didn't even wait for the final whistle. Midway through the fourth quarter, as the Lions' lead grew, he was seen leaving the owner's box, shaking his head and heading straight for the locker room hallway. According to insiders, Haslam was furious, not just about losing by 24 points on national TV, but about the way the team lost, stubbornly refusing to give the rookie quarterback, Shedeur Sanders, even a single series. One source said the owner's exact words were something along the lines of, "Why did we draft this kid if we're not going to play him?" The frustration wasn't limited to the top floor. Inside the locker room, the atmosphere after the game was described as tense and divided. Several offensive linemen reportedly questioned why they were getting their heads knocked off protecting a quarterback who couldn't move the ball. A veteran defensive captain, speaking off the record, was even blunter. "We're doing our job, keeping teams out of the end zone, but we can't score points for the offense too. Something has to change." For a team that prides itself on unity, that's a dangerous sign. The Browns' defense had held opponents to just 17 points per game through the first 3 contests, good enough to win most Sundays. Yet the offense was averaging a league-worst 15 points. Players who had carried the team on their backs were starting to lose patience watching their efforts wasted. What made it worse was the comparison everyone in the building could see. Shedeur Sanders' preseason flashes, quick reads, accurate throws under pressure, 100-plus passer rating, versus Joe Flacco's season-long struggles with turnovers and stalled drives. By the time the team boarded the flight back to Cleveland, there wasn't just a scoreboard loss to recover from. There was a growing rift between the locker room, the coaching staff, and the front office, a fracture that threatened to derail the entire season. And that fracture became impossible to ignore once the raw numbers hit the airwaves, because the stats painted a picture the coaching staff could no longer explain away. When emotions run high after a loss, it's easy to say, "Play the kid." But in Cleveland's case, the numbers aren't just emotional, they're undeniable. Let's start with the veteran, Joe Flacco. Through 3 games this season, he's managed 61% completions, just 631 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 4 interceptions. His quarterback rating? A rough 65.2. The Browns' offense has topped 13 points only once in those 3 games. Now compare that to the rookie they refused to play, Shedeur Sanders. At Colorado last season, Sanders completed 74% of his passes, one of the best marks in all of college football, for over 4,100 yards, 37 touchdowns, and just 10 interceptions. And that was while running for his life behind one of the worst offensive lines in the country. Even in limited preseason snaps for Cleveland, Sanders went 12 of 19 for 129 yards, a touchdown, and a passer rating of 100.5. Small sample size, sure, but enough to show he can read the field, stay calm under pressure, and deliver the ball where it needs to go. Put those numbers side by side, and the contrast is almost embarrassing.
Flacco, 2 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, 65.2 rating, 15 points per game. Sanders, college and preseason, 37 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, 74% accuracy, 100+ rating in preseason. Fans see it, analysts see it, even some of Joe Flacco's own teammates reportedly see it. And when the stats went viral online, they became ammunition for an angry fan base already demanding change. One tweet that caught fire read, "Shedeur, 37 touchdowns, 10 interceptions at Colorado. Flacco, 2 touchdowns, 4 interceptions in Cleveland. Someone explain this math to me like I'm 5. The numbers don't just suggest a change, they scream for it. And as those comparisons spread across Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok, the Browns' quarterback controversy officially exploded beyond Cleveland.
The data made it clear. The team wasn't just losing games, they were losing time. But while the stats told one story, the fans told another, in all caps. If the box score showed the loss, social media showed the outrage. Within minutes of the final whistle, Browns fans took over Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, anywhere they could type the words "Fire Stefanski." The hashtag #FireStefanski hit trending lists by midnight, alongside another fan favorite, #FreeShedeur. Clips of Sanders sitting on the bench with his helmet at his feet, jaw tight, eyes fixed on the field, racked up millions of views in just a few hours. For Cleveland's fan base, that clip became a symbol. A young quarterback they believe could change the future stuck on the sideline while the team was humiliated on national TV. Comment sections under the Browns' official posts turned into open forums for frustration. Same movie for 25 years, different quarterbacks, same results. We didn't draft Shedeur to hold a clipboard. I'm done paying to watch 40-year-old QBs lose games. One viral post captured the sentiment perfectly. Shedeur threw 37 touchdowns at Colorado. Flacco has thrown 2 touchdowns all season in Cleveland. Someone explain this like I'm 5. Even rival fan bases joined the conversation, mocking Cleveland for wasting their rookie talent. Memes flooded timelines, side-by-side photos of Sanders in college versus Flacco on the bench, jokes about needing a calculator to figure out the Browns' decision-making. But the backlash wasn't just jokes. For a city that's endured decades of quarterback mismanagement, the online reaction felt like a breaking point. Fans saying they're tired of watching history repeat itself. The message from social media was loud and impossible for the franchise to ignore. Enough excuses, play the kid. And as hashtags turned into headlines, pressure mounted even further when an unexpected voice stepped into the conversation, someone who knows Shedeur better than anyone. Just when the storm around Cleveland felt like it couldn't get any louder, a new voice jumped in, and it came from football royalty. Deion Coach Prime Sanders, Hall of Famer, college coach, and of course Shedeur's father, had been mostly quiet about his son's NFL situation, but that changed during an appearance on the popular New Heights podcast. In classic Prime fashion, he didn't rant or complain, he dropped a prediction. Be patient and be ready. Your time's coming. I've got a feeling it's going down this year. He never called out the Browns by name, but everyone knew what he meant. It wasn't just a proud dad speaking, it was a football legend putting the spotlight right back on Cleveland's coaching staff. Those words went viral within hours. Clips of Deion's comment were replayed on ESPN, debated on talk radio, and turned into TikTok sound bites that racked up millions of views. Headlines read, "Deion predicts Shedeur's shot is coming soon." And just like that, the quarterback controversy in Cleveland went from a local grievance to a national storyline. For Kevin Stefanski, the timing couldn't have been worse. The locker room was already divided, the fan base was restless, and now the father of the rookie quarterback, a Hall of Famer with a massive online following, had just added more pressure.
Reporters started asking daily whether Deion's comments meant something was brewing behind the scenes. National analysts speculated about when, not if, Shedeur would finally get the nod. Inside the Browns facility, sources say it added another layer of tension. The coaching staff had to answer questions they hadn't planned on facing, while front office executives who'd pushed to draft Shedeur reportedly saw Deion's remarks as a public nudge to make a move sooner rather than later. Deion's statement didn't just fuel headlines. It changed the conversation. The debate was no longer about a rookie's potential. It became about a coach under siege, a fan base demanding action, and a franchise on the clock to prove it hadn't wasted its best chance at a spark. And as the voices grew louder, from fans, from the media, from inside the locker room, and now from Shedeur's own father, the Browns were suddenly staring at a season-defining choice: stick with the veteran and risk another lost year, or finally hand the reins to the rookie everyone's waiting for. The future of the Browns, and perhaps the fate of their head coach, now hinged on one decision. The Cleveland Browns have been here before, staring at the fork in the road where one path leads to hope and the other circles back to the same heartbreak that's haunted the franchise for decades. The numbers don't lie. The defense is elite, the roster is built to win now, and the rookie quarterback they drafted looks like he has the tools to change everything. Yet week after week, the team keeps handing the keys to a veteran who hasn't been able to move the offense or spark any momentum. It's more than just a quarterback debate at this point. This is about the identity of the Browns. Are they a team willing to bet on their future and finally break their decades-long cycle of quarterback mistakes? Or will they cling to the same conservative habits that have left their fan base frustrated for years? Inside the building, pressure is rising from every direction. Ownership is demanding answers. The locker room is losing patience. The fans are done waiting. And now even national legends like Deion Sanders have joined the chorus. For Kevin Stefanski, the next decision he makes at quarterback won't just define this season, it could define his legacy in Cleveland. Does he make the bold move and give Shedeur Sanders the shot everyone's asking for? Or double down on experience over potential and risk losing the locker room and possibly his job? The Browns' season isn't over yet, but every week they wait feels like another opportunity slipping away. The defense is playing championship-level football right now. The window is open, but it won't stay open forever. If they hand the reins to Sanders, they might ignite the spark they've been missing. Or they might face growing pains that test their patience. But one thing's certain: sticking with the current formula isn't working, and the clock is ticking. So here's the question for every Browns fan watching. Do you roll the dice on the rookie and see what the kid can do? Or ride out the season with the veteran and risk wasting one of the best defenses this team has had in years? Drop your thoughts in the comments, because this isn't just about one game or one season. This is about whether the Browns finally break their own cycle or keep reliving the same story that's defined them for decades.